That. God, my eye looks so much better now. I'm so relieved. Right. Anyway, whilst I just wait for people to just join the live stream, this one again is just going to be like another update. I've done day 6 with my client, which, as you can see by the title, it was way better than one of the earlier days. And I thought I'll kind of share that with you guys, because definitely I've had people ask, and that they want to know update wise on how my client's doing. And I'll give you a recap of what has essentially gone on over this week. But I'll wait just for a couple more people to essentially join, and then we'll kind of get into it. I think the algorithm takes just a little bit of time for people to get notified that I do live streams. So yeah, I'll give people the benefit of the doubt. And what I've also done is I've written down a couple of notes this time of just things that did happen during our session yesterday. And you're probably thinking, well, hang on a minute, Daniel. It's today is Monday, and as yesterday was Sunday, and you've done day 6. Like, surely, if you're doing like the 7-day coaching together, surely it would have been like the full week. And yeah, it is. It's just how it worked out with how we started out. That because I was doing filming with Christian the week before. I thought I was actually going to be doing filming with Christian on the Monday, and actually he was going back up north on the Monday. So I started working with this client on his 7-day coaching on the Tuesday. So everything's kind of been like moved forward a day, and in fact, my client is actually back at work at the moment today. So I'm waiting to hear if I'm having my 7th day or final day coaching with him. If it's going to be either tomorrow or if it's going to be on Wednesday. And then, funny enough, I'm actually working with Christian again for the rest of the week, which will be really good to see him, because I think after that, I'm not sure if he's sticking around London. I don't know if he's going back to Thailand or not. I seem to think that he might be. So I'll find out with that. But yeah, now that I can see I've got a few more people who've jumped onto the stream. So I'll just give a recap of how the week went. So I started with my client on the Tuesday, and a bit of background about my client. He's a 32-year-old Pakistani man, really cool, very down to earth, has a lot of anxiety, but simply because he doesn't have that much of an opportunity to socialize with people. He doesn't have many friends. And in fact, he had his first ever relationship not that long ago with someone who was just a little bit older than him. So he's 32, she was 38, and they were together for about 6-7 months. And that was his only relationship, 6-7. I still got to figure out like what the actual meaning of that is, but I kind of guess it's like a mystery for a lot of people. But it was his first relationship, and it's kind of difficult for an older guy if you've not really dated and then you've had one relationship. And certainly through like the conversations that I've had with my client, he genuinely has like the old school one-itis. Like he kind of feels like he'll never have a relationship again. And there's even been that kind of I don't know if hesitation is the right word, but he's almost felt that need to try and like reconnect with his ex and try and get back together with her. Although ironically, she reached out to him to try and become friends, and I just said like, no, don't even entertain that. Like, just, you need to move on. Like, what you're doing with practicing cold approaching is a wonderful thing. Like, just stay away from it. Don't message her. Just do your own thing. Trust the process of putting yourself out there, and I promise you, you will meet someone new. So we had our Tuesday together, was our first day, and usually days 1 and 2 that I do with guys, and essentially with him, which was Tuesday and Wednesday, I took him out, and whilst giving him some coaching, I was filming him doing approaches. So then I then went home, reviewed what he was doing, like how his interactions were. And then on the Wednesday, we sat together and then I then sat down and went over with him how his body language was, how his linguistics was, and also just how his conversations are. So hang on a minute. I'm going to just put someone on timeout there because they're literally spamming the chat. So we did the filming on the Tuesday. He did only a handful of approaches. To be honest, it was pretty quiet out. There really wasn't many interactions that he had. There was a lot of like families, couples, large groups, and things. So it was what it was. So I shifted an hour from that day into coaching later on in the day, in the week, sorry. And then on the Wednesday, we sat in a coffee shop and we still spent 2 hours together, looking at his body language, how he was presenting himself, his linguistics, what he sounded like with like his voice, his vocal tonality, his speed of speech. Was he pausing? Were there ums and ers, that sort of thing? And then as for like the conversation skills, I mean, there really wasn't sadly that much that he was doing to kind of like say, oh, okay, well, you could throw this in the conversation or that. So essentially, the start of the week was really just looking at his body language and linguistics. And he also had this god awful coat. It was a puffer jacket, which made him just essentially look like a uni student. I'll have to try and get like a photo of him with it and ask him nicely if I would like blur out his face. Would he be kind enough if I just sort of share that? Although I will hopefully ask him at some point if he'd be kind enough to essentially kind of like have an interview and a chat and just keep him anonymous, but just to have a chat about how the week has been for him, because I really kind of love that transparency anyway, and I try and encourage that even with other dating coaches when I've worked with them and when I'm like filming and stuff as well. So that was essentially the Tuesday and Wednesday. We did the filming and feedback, and then the Thursday was essentially the first proper coaching day where there was no camera, there was no laptop. It was just us going out and chatting to people, just socializing. And where he was at, it was just a case of getting the ball rolling. I just wanted him to what I call break the anxiety bubble. And I purposely have just stupid, ridiculous names for a lot of things that I do when I'm teaching, because it just makes anxiety sound a lot less scary and just a lot more silly and stupid. So there is method in my madness with that. But the Thursday when we went out, he did about 15 to 20 approaches, which was amazing for that first day. And I pushed him into a lot of his interactions. And what we worked on during that was getting him to just actually stop people with a bit more authority and, get a little bit more in front. He had this habit of sort of stopping people from the side and trying to like walk with them a little bit. And then when he was speaking, he was going up with his voice. So it didn't really have like any sort of like authority with it. And it's quite, in a way, it's kind of difficult for me to do an example of that because, there's not really much context except for me just trying to, say my own sentences to the camera. But, as he was like trying to stop, he was going like, hello, hello. Can I just ask you something really quickly? And the thing is that when you've got people walking on a busy street and they're hearing that, it kind of sounds like you would sound like you're being just really nervous. Like you don't want to interfere with someone's day. And he had this habit of like crouching as he was doing it. In fact, actually I can demo it easier with the camera in my kitchen. Whereas I think when I tried to do like a live stream in London, it wasn't quite the same. But he'd be like, excuse me, and so it came across quite weak, if I'm honest. But we worked on that through a couple of exercises, and that somewhat got fixed. I think with most people, until you've kind of done it a lot of times and then it's like ingrained, it's very easy to kind of like ricochet between what you should be doing and what is actually a bad behavior. So we worked on that. But what was just really great was he at least was able to go up to people and then ask for directions. There was a lot of asking for directions on the first day, but then he eventually was able to give people compliments. And what was useful was at least he particularly would point back and say, "Oh, I'm just with my friend. You walk past. I just wanted to say that you look lovely," and then he would kind of escape from the situation as quickly as possible. So he'd there was a lot of just giving compliments and then running away, giving compliments and running away. So he'd constantly eject. So that was Thursday. Friday was what did we do Friday? So Friday, we went out. We did approaching again. I think he also got about 10 to 15 on the Friday, which was absolutely fine. And we kind of got to push a little bit more on the approaches, where he was then able to kind of go up to like a group of people, just give them a compliment. He was also able to make decisions on his own with approaching, which was really good. So I started introducing an exercise where towards like the end of the session, I said to him, right, you need to be the one to go and approach someone. I don't care what you say. I don't care what the outcome is. I just want you to go up to someone, just to make that initiation, take that assertiveness and that decision making, and just go and do it yourself, which was really good. And then I think it was on then the Saturday, or maybe I might have had my days mixed up, but it was either the Friday or the Saturday. Basically, he was really low energy. And I wasn't quite sure what was going on. And I kept asking him, like, how are you feeling? Can you, walk me through it and stuff? And he'd always kind of go, and he'll probably, if he watches these, he'll agree, but he would be like, yeah, I'm okay. I'm so. And I'd be like, no, you've got to flush it out. I need that information. Because something that, as someone who was, and maybe still is, I have that anxiety much like anyone else. It's very easy to get kind of caught internally, to just get stuck in your own head. And the more you kind of like reflect inwards, it's very difficult to socialize, because you're talking about trying to speak more externally rather than internally. And if you aren't doing that as frequently as you possibly can, it's so easy to get stuck in your head and just not want to speak to anyone. So we had a day where then he only did about like 8 or 9 approaches, and we were out for a good like 3 hours or so, and it was a good. There was a lot more. It was more of like a motivational session, and just giving him a lot more moral support and encouragement, and really just trying to give more context to things, just in life in general. And then right at the end of the session, it became apparent that basically the reason why he had low energy was because he just hadn't eaten anything. And I had to make the point quite clear that, when I don't know if you guys had seen the post that I put out, but I mean, on average, when I'm doing like a 7-day coaching with people, even if I'm just doing like a taster or a filming session, whatever, on average, in about 3-4 hours, I am walking around anywhere between about 8 to 12 miles with people. And that's daily. So, by the end of 7 days, we've probably walked about 80 miles around London. Definitely, yeah, about 70, 80 miles around London. It's a workout. That's a couple of marathons with just walking. So you've got to kind of respect that your body needs fuel. You can't be running on fumes by just literally having like a tiny snack here and there. You need to really fuel up, not both for both physically but mentally as well. When you're speaking to people, as you're thinking, as the heart's racing with the adrenaline as you're going up to people, let alone being able to walk around for 10, 12 miles a day, you're going to burn out pretty quickly. So on one of the other days, I did talk about, like, you need to be eating really well. You need to stay hydrated enough. And, for people who are going out and practicing their social skills, or going to events and stuff, the best thing that you can do for yourself is make sure that you are hydrated and well malnourished is when you're lacking. And you've got to be well nutrition. Well, I'll say nutrition because I'm not quite sure what the word would be for it. So you need to eat well as you're going out and about. So this then leads on to yesterday, onto Sunday, which is essentially the point of this live stream. Which, if any is amazing, I've just been doing that recap for the last 15 minutes. But yesterday was so much better. It really was so much better. He did such a fantastic job. So again, he approached about 15, 20 people. I'll have to kind of look at my notes on this one just as reminders on things. But he spoke to about 15, 20 people again, which is about the average, I would say, for anyone if they're going out for about 3-4 hours. I'm more about quality over quantity. But for him, he did incredibly well. At the start of the session, I'd encouraged him to go and approach someone that he had to be the one to make the decision just to break that anxiety bubble. And he did it. And he did it pretty quickly. We're within minutes we're talking about here. What was really cool in London, because of the Chinese New Year, there was all the festival stuff. There was a load of roads blocked off. So it was quite busy. And you know what? He had the courage to go over and stop a really, really attractive lady who was kind of walking down the street. She sort of had this serious look on her face. And we all kind of know it as the resting bitch face. And he was very hesitant and adamant about doing it at first. He was like, I'm not really sure. She looks like she's just going to ignore me and stuff. And I was like, go find out. And he caught up with her. He managed to sort of get through the crowd, stopped her really nicely, got in front, didn't carry on walking. He planted himself on the ground and said, look, excuse me, this is going to be totally random. I was with my friend, and I just had to say, I thought you looked absolutely gorgeous and just wanted to say hi. And she started giggling. She was laughing, absolutely loved it. She said, thank you so much for that. And of course, his nervousness kind of kicked in, and then he ejected himself, which I was like, oh, dude, you should have carried on and at least said something like, how's your day going? What are you up to? Or what have you explored the Chinese New Year market thing that's going on? I saw some really unique plush toys. Didn't really matter. I was just really proud of him that he'd sort of spotted someone. Although he was hesitant, I supported him. He went, he did it. And he actually surprised himself that even though she was kind of looking serious, she just literally just melted into the compliment. So we started off really strong. And in fact, what was great for the majority of the session, I'd say majority of his approaches was done in the first 2 hours out of the 3 hours. We walked from Tottenham Court Road all the way to South Bank, across the river to London Bridge, all the way up to Liverpool Street, and then went to Shoreditch and then back to Liverpool Street, which was where we then finished. And on that journey, he had some really, really good interactions. And in fact, I do think going to South Bank did wonders for him because of the different pace that was going on there. So where we were walking around Central and he had a lot of nervous energy, walking around Central, you kind of need to have a bit more assertiveness. You need to have a lot more energy kind of going in. I just got back to London. Maybe one thing that I would always say is I love people just saying hello. So yeah, if you ever do come back to London, by all means, although I don't know what you look like, but I mean, yeah, by all means, feel free to say hello and stuff. I love that sort of thing. I always love chatting to people. Although if I was with my my client though, then probably would have been a very limited chat per se. So we were walking around. There is kind of a difference, I think, to more central London than to South Bank, where it really is just so much more relaxed. And in fact, a couple of things down there was that there was a lady who had very beautiful long red hair, and you know, and she walked by. I think this was near where the Shakespeare's Globe was, and she'd walk by, and I was like, look, go and give her a compliment. Like, you're rocking the leather jacket, she's rocking the leather jacket. Why don't you go and say something? And he did it, and now and she turned around. She absolutely loved it. She said, look, I've got a boyfriend though, and she then shook his hand and then said like, oh. You know, what are you doing today? What are you up to? And then for a very brief time, only about 20, 30 seconds, did they have a really great conversation. And he, of course, ejected himself because she'd said that, you know, she had a boyfriend and that she was off on her way to go and speak to him or see him. And he was like, oh, well, you know, I don't want to keep you or whatever. And I think what was really great was that because of me, I mean, I like to, when I'm out and about, I like to sort of dress quite smartly. So when he sort of pointed back to me, and especially on a couple of girls, and said, look, oh, well, I'm just with my friend over there. And I can obviously hear because I've got the microphone equipment. And I kind of look over and I smile or I kind of like wave. It kind of like definitely shows like he's just a normal guy, which he is. And it also, he would say, you know, that we were just out and we were just exploring London together. And that was just, it was just great. It just made the conversations really casual. And yeah, and he had a really nice chat with her and then came back. And I think that was like one of the first times that he had a bit more of a conversation past just giving a compliment and trying to eject. So I should probably state that yesterday was like the first day that about maybe half, maybe between like a third and half of the chat stops that he did was him actually asking like a couple of questions. Nothing crazy. There was still not really much creativity going on, but it was a step in the right direction. He was at least moving from just giving a compliment and ejecting from that to giving a compliment, asking a couple of questions, and then ejecting from that. But then we had a really, really unique interaction play out. So we were walking near the Oxo Tower on South Bank. So it just helps probably give more context here. And this was as we were walking on our way towards London Bridge. And there was a girl who kind of walked past and she sort of smiled at us and then went. And I said to him, oh, you know what, you've got to tell her that she's got a really lovely smile. You know, she looked really pretty and everything. So he caught up with her and he said, like, excuse me, that you just walked past me and my friend. And I just have to say, I thought you looked absolutely lovely. You had a really great smile. She started laughing. She was smiling even more. She was like, oh, thank you so much. And then he said, you know, what are you up to today? And she said, well, look, actually, I've just come from a modeling thing. And I'm now on my way to the train station. I'm kind of like rushing for it. And of course, he was like, oh, well, yeah, if that's okay. Well, you know, I don't want to keep you. I just wanted to say that and, you know, and have a nice day. And she was like, oh, thank you. And then she carried on walking towards like the park to go to the station. And I quickly like ran up to him as he's like walking back to me. I was like, dude, right, I want you to go. She was absolutely lovely. You need to go back to her and you need to be like, look, my anxiety got the better of me. I had to come back just to ask, like, are you single? Is what I said to him to say. You know, and if she says yes, be like, right, okay, I want to get your number, or let me take you out on a date sometime. So he ran back to her, he caught up with her, and he was like, hi, me again. He's like, oh, that's okay. And then he said literally what I told him to say, which was amazing, which also gets me to remind myself about something else, another approach that he did. And then he said, look, I have to ask you, are you single? And then she said, I said, unfortunately not. I've actually got 2 boyfriends. So no. And I basically then said to him, I've just got idiots in the chat. Put user in timeout. There we go. So I then so then he was like, oh, okay, well, you know, I don't want to interfere with anything, you know, have a nice day. And then he came back to me and I was just like, dude, you didn't even challenge the fact that she said that she's got 2 boyfriends. You just literally just kind of like rolled over on it. I said, if it was me in that situation, I would have said like, oh, do you want a 3rd boyfriend? Or like, hang on a minute, what do you mean you've got two boyfriends? I mean, that's essentially she's saying she's dating multiple people. So it can't be that serious if she's dating multiple people. But yeah, he didn't challenge it. So it kind of opened up sort of another topic with him about, about actually like questioning stuff. Like you've got to challenge people a little bit. You can't just, as soon as someone says like, "Oh, I'm on my way somewhere," or "Oh, I no," or I'm not sure of this," or "No," like you've got to challenge it a little bit. But I mean, the fact that she said that she had two boyfriends, and he didn't even like go like, "Oh, well, you know what? Let me throw my hat in the ring. What about if I was like your boyfriend on the weekend and they're the boyfriend on the weekdays?" Little things like that. So we were then talking about, how can you be a bit more humorous? How can you certainly challenge people a bit more? But one thing that I want to get him to do is just have a little bit, wouldn't say aggressiveness, but have a little bit more like, oh, like, yes, I don't want him to necessarily be too passive. I want him to have some assertiveness, and some masculine energy there. So at least then, the girls are feeling it, because otherwise I feel like he's the sort of person that you could, if you sort of blow on him, he might sort of like just fall over, and I don't want that. He's got a really, really good personality and he's a good guy, but yeah, he needs to kind of believe in himself a bit more and be open to challenging people, and and a bit of disagreeableness is okay. In fact, that actually builds attraction with people if you can kind of like disagree with each other, and have a bit of a debate, and especially with someone that you're attracted to, that can really give you some brownie points with a potential relationship, because you're not the guy who's just the pushover, or the guy who just sort of like says yes to everything that she says. She doesn't want that. She wants someone who is going to challenge her, is going to kind of like get those emotions firing and make it a little bit more interesting. Tension can be kind of sexy. So it was a shame that, yeah, he came back and he didn't push to try and get a number. I think she was someone who, had he have challenged it, he probably would have got a number. And that would have been, I think, just such a big epiphany for him, to have done it. But you know what? I was just still really proud that he ran back to someone that I told him to go back to, because we certainly over the week had a couple of approaches where, he ejected himself out when actually the lady was open to probably having a chat. They were expecting him to say something else. And as I pointed out to him, that you've got to be the one to carry the conversation. She's not going to sort of like jump in and do it unless maybe you are a bit more honest about how you're feeling. If you're saying like, "Oh, you know what, I feel a little bit anxious about stopping you. I don't normally do this often," then maybe there might be someone who will do it. I wouldn't say the statistics are going to be great. It might be like a 1 in 20 chance that then a girl or lady's going to be like, "You know what, I'm going to give you a bit of support here." It's just not going to happen. Majority of the time, you've got to be the one to lead the conversation until she feels even more comfortable with you, and then she'll start asking you more questions and then open it up. But one of the other funniest things that did happen was when we were in Borough Market. So eventually we got down to London Bridge. We got to Borough Market, and there were two women who were literally dressed the exact same. They were kind of wearing like these oatmeal coloured coats and I think skirts and stuff. It was like a furry coat and things. It looked really funny, and I thought to myself, like, you know what, this would be really entertaining. I said to him, I want you to go over, and I want you to try and hang on, let me put another idiot out of this. Put user in timeout. There we go. So I want you to go up to these ladies, and then I want you to ask them and say, "Look, excuse me, I'm just curious if either you're both twins or best friends, because I really, I just had to compliment you on your matching clothes." He went over, and I try my best to if people are really stuck on what they want to say, I try my best to actually give them something to say. And he went over, and for some reason he decided to say like, "Oh, I see you ladies are both vibing. Are you both sisters or friends? Um, and then they said, I think they said that they were friends. And then he sort of like went like, "Oh, thank you very much. Have a nice day." And then came back to me, and I looked at him. And I was like, "That's not what I told you to say. Like, where did this word vibing come from? Where the hell did that come from?" And even he was like, "I don't know." I was like, "Why didn't you say what I told you to say?" And he was like, I don't know." So there was some aloofness. I did sort of like tell him off, like I'm giving you stuff that's going to help you. If you kind of come out with random things, or if you keep saying things that don't make sense to people, then you're going to get feedback from them that's not going to be outcomes, or it's not going to be things that you're going to want from them either. So yeah, I think that's a bit of a learning curve for him, that now he sort of took on board, like if I give him something to say, he needs to say it. Because what he was then saying to them, and also like a couple of others, I think as well, just did not make sense. He said, like, you've got to add more context. You've got to explain something more. You can't just say like the bare minimum of like, "Oh, I saw you, and you look you look really nice. What are you doing today? Where are you off to?" I said, like, you haven't built enough rapport there. You've got to flush it out a bit more. Whereas if you go over and say, "Look, excuse me, look, I was just with my friend. You caught my eye. I genuinely just had to give you a compliment and just say that you look great. I get this is a completely random stuff. You've got to tell a little bit of a story, a little bit of a narrative, because that context is going to put the other person at ease who you're speaking to. And I got him as an example. We try and think what I gave an example to him about with context. So we were walking across a bridge, and I said to him, like, if you were in a rush somewhere, maybe actually no, maybe, I use this as an example, but this definitely wasn't like an example that I use. But you know what? If, let's say, you were kind of like rushing for a toilet and you went up to someone quite urgently, you just said like excuse me, can I just ask a quick question? That probably wouldn't be enough, because they wouldn't know what the question was that you were going to end up asking them. But if you were to at least go up and say, "No, excuse me, like, I'm terribly sorry, I've got to be quick because I'm busting for the loo. Do you know where the nearest toilet is?" Then someone would probably help you, because they've got the context of, like, you're being kind of like very like maybe not aggressive to them, but you're being like trying to be quick with them because you are urgently needing the loo. It's probably a poor example that I've just given, because I'm thinking about this on the spot, and there's not as much context as I would like when we were out. But yeah, there was like just little things like that. So on my final day with him, one of the things that I'd like to, you kind of look like the guy from the show Cowboy Troll. I haven't watched it, so I don't know. So what I'm going to do on my final day with him is I really want to try and push to get him to have more conversations if I can. I mean, he's a complete blank canvas with cold approaching, and that's absolutely fine. Everyone's at a very different pace. He's still spoken to about like 50, 60 people during the time with me, which is brilliant. But yeah, he's been able to now go over and approach people on his own decision. He's been able to give people compliments. What I'd really like for him is to kind of like vary up the compliments. I don't want him to just keep saying the same compliment every time. I'm also getting him to try and relax a bit more as he's speaking, like take deep breaths as he's talking to people, because he speaks too quick. And I think that also is what causes his vocal tonality to go up as he's speaking to people. So I want to try and, if I can fix that. He's stopping people maybe a bit too far away. So I keep trying encouraging him to sort of step a bit nearer. It's got to be more like arm's length. If you're like on one side of the pavement and they're on the other side of the pavement, they're not going to give you any attention really with that. As well as just getting a little bit more in front. The vocal tonality, I think once he's breathing a bit more, that seems to just be sorting itself out. But most importantly, it really is just getting him to be a bit more assertive as he's speaking to people. And besides asking or giving a compliment, that he needs to ask more questions, and there needs to be more context. So I think that's what we'll try and work on his final day. We are also taking some photos for his dating profile as well. because as he works a lot, he might not necessarily have the time to go and practice cold approaching on the street. He doesn't live in London either. So I'm very much on the idea, you might as well use all the avenues that you've got. Don't be reliant on apps, but do, use multiple avenues or revenues to at least try and have a dating life and put himself out there. He showed me his dating profile. My God, it was awful. The stuff he had on it, he had something about that his like favorite place was Lidl, and he loves sharing memes. It's a shame I can't actually bring it up on my phone because I'll end up coming out of the live stream. But he had stuff about Lidl on there. He had stuff about his credit score. God only knows why. And I said to him, I said, your account is essentially you being your own worst enemy on this. Like we need to change a lot of this. So I'm going to help him on that once we have our day, and that's not going to interfere with the coaching either. But we'll have we'll meet up early in the morning. We'll have a coffee. We'll work on his profile as we're going out and doing approaching. I'm going to help him take some more photos, so then he's got even more photos for his dating profile. And then after that, we'll do a debrief and go over, what sort of things he can do going forward. And then, hopefully, if he can continue with what he's doing and also be willing to keep pushing himself that bit more and more, and go to events, go to places where he can socialize and meet more people, then that would be just perfect. I said to him, look, imagine where you'll be in 3 months' time, in 6 months' time, or even a year. But, for the age that he's at, he's a really good looking guy. I'm glad that he sorted out his coat. I might have to tell him off and say that you should have brought your leather jacket out like from day number 2 rather than like day number 5. Because we certainly discovered that no one was stopping for him when he was wearing a puffer jacket. But when I gave him my coat to wear, and I've got a Reese P coat, which I really like, not that it being Reese makes any difference, but when I gave him my coat, so we actually had a session where I swapped coats with him, and he was wearing my coat. And then there was a day when it was a bit nicer out with the weather, and then he was wearing. Sorry, I just checked the time. Then I thought, oh God, I've got a consultation call. But no, that's later. When I also got him to take his coat off, and he was just walking around. And he dresses smartly. He's got a really good figure on him as well. Showed that off. Women were stopping for him, so that was great. And hopefully, he'll actually buy a new coat. But yeah, we're gonna sort of fix the rest of his profile, help him out a little bit with that. Hopefully, encourage him to go out and socialize at other places more, so he's got that balance of cold approaching, putting it into practice at events. I said to him, I see no reason in 6 months' time, more time, that you'll end up being a great place. Yeah, no, Luke, don't worry. I've for some reason I panicked then. I thought it was 5 o'clock for us. And of course, it's only 3 o'clock. So yeah, we are absolutely fine still for later. So yeah, that's all good. I literally thought God, what am I going? But yeah, I realised that I started this call at about live stream at 2:30. I didn't do it at 3:30. So yeah, don't worry, Luke. Well, I'll speak to you at 5. I genuinely believe, if he works hard, he'll do well. He will meet someone. I totally respect right now. He has that old school one-itis. He's still kind of caught up on his ex, but the best thing that he can do is literally just cut her out of his life completely, have no contact with her at all. And as long as he's actively putting himself out there, again, he's a good looking guy. I have no doubt that he will meet someone who is going to be perfect for him. But like with all of us, when you've only just put yourself out there in the dating game, whatever age that is, it is kind of difficult to imagine you having a dating life or meeting someone special because you've just not got the experience of it. I remember what I was like 20 years ago when I hadn't even kissed a girl at the age of 21. I mean, I was a late bloomer. And it was because of the pickup industry that it turned it all around for me, so I'm so grateful that I got introduced to it. But I remember what I was like before then, where I just felt or believed like I was unlovable, that no one would want to be with me. I certainly struggled having conversations with people. And I think when you're just constantly self-reflecting and you're not getting feedback from other people, and if you certainly haven't had a taste of success, it's very difficult to kind of compare yourself to this future self-actualized version of yourself to the person you are now, because you just haven't experienced it. I have got a wig. I've got an Austin Powers one, but I'll save that for when I'm spending time with your mum. So there you go. How do I go live? Well, that is for you to YouTube it. That's why YouTube is there. So, so no, all in all, I'm now waiting for my final day with my client. So it'll be really good once we actually have that final session together. I think we're going to cover a lot of things again with like the dating. Also, you need to talk less. Well, you can. Here you go. In fact, you know what? I will do you a favor, my friend. Here is how you can hear me talk less. There we go. There we go. So I'm looking forward to having the final session with my client. I think it will be really good, and yeah, I can't wait to see what kind of happens for him in the future. But until then, yeah, I think I've kind of covered everything that I wanted to in the chat, really. So I mean, I've ultimately given a recap on how he did over the week. It has been a roller coaster for him, but then where he's at on his journey is still very much at the start. He hasn't really got that much experience with socializing. You know, he's a 32-year-old guy. He English. I don't think English is necessarily his greatest first language. So, you know, I think there was like slight language barriers in just thinking like what he wants to say, but we're working on that. And, you know, and it's not about trying to say anything particular, but it is about just trying to speak really honestly to people, and just try and say what you mean to say. And I know he's got the ability to certainly chat to women with no issues, because like when he's talking to me as a mate, and we're kind of walking around together, and even as a coach, I should say as well, but as we're walking around together, he's doing absolutely fine. He can talk pretty openly and honestly, and he's a good communicator. So it's just about getting him comfortable with that as he's talking to other people as well. So we'll see. We'll see how he does. But no, I've been really pleased with the success for him that he's been doing. I think he's kind of felt that things have progressed a bit slowly, but then again, he is still very much at the start of his journey. And I always kind of encourage people, like, you've got to respect that. If you're trying to unlearn a lot of bad habits and behaviors that you've got, yeah, good observation there, sir. That you've got to kind of unlearn all these bad habits and all these bad mannerisms that you've developed over like decades of your life. So yeah, it will take time, but as long as he practices, as long as he puts himself out there, then yeah, he'll get there eventually. I have no doubt about it. So yeah, so I mean, we'll kind of like end. I think everything there. I mean, if anything, if you are interested in maybe having the same kind of like coaching that I've offered my clients, then, you know, by all means, you know, do reach out. I absolutely love the concept of cold approaching. I don't believe it has to be used just for dating. The idea of it, I mean, you're just speaking to strangers, you're just socializing. So the more you do that, and in a controlled way and in a supportive way, then the sooner you're going to accelerate your confidence. And if you can do that, you know, sky's the limit of really where you can be, and you'll be there much faster than where you would be if you were trying to still suss it out on your own. So I'm going to just have a look at the comments here. I know there's just a lot of like stupid people who put some very, very odd things. Clearly, it's a lot of like kids who should be in school, or perhaps just adults who are so bored at work. So let's just have a look. So I don't know how to pronounce some of these. Yeah, I'm good, my friend who messaged at the start. Noah Slater, hello. Um, uh, Hang on, let me just see. Oh yeah, I had someone like spam. So I think I will just hide that person. This is like the fun bit. I love getting rid of just idiots as well. Something you've got to understand as well with me, which I don't tolerate, is uh, after having four friends commit suicide, and part of that has been because of just the weird trolling that's happened to them over the years online. I don't tolerate people who are actually saying things like that. There's a difference between just trolling and just saying like stupid shit. But when I'm seeing, or if I hear stuff that's like encouraging people to self-harm, or that they should just give up on life, or that they're nobodies and that they should just sort of like roll over and die. I've got no patience for that sort of stuff. You've got to be in a dark place yourself to put such like vile messages. So yeah, there's no point even like having conversations or just trying to debate these sorts of people. So I just don't tolerate it. I'd rather help people who genuinely are looking for support. And when I've got people who follow me or who are in genuine need of guidance, because maybe they are someone who has been depressed, maybe they have struggled with particular dangerous thoughts, or they've done something dangerous to themselves. I would rather be as supportive as I possibly can for them. So again, yeah, I don't tend to tolerate other stuff. Someone said, good afternoon from Essex. I'm originally from Essex myself, so I can only imagine as you've written that, you've said that also in a very Essex accent. Hi Gleb, welcome to following my stream. Lemwon, I just got back from London. I think I answered that before. Fanu, I'm sorry to hear about your dog. I unfortunately had to put my cat down almost a year ago to the day, actually. She, through just very quick discovery, turned out that she had cancer. She had a tumor that was the size of a tangerine, and within the days of discovering it, I had to make the harsh decision of putting her down, which absolutely broke me. So honestly, my heart goes out to you, my friend. If your dog really has just passed and you're not just putting this for a trolling thing, you really do have my sympathies, because it's a very difficult thing when you lose someone close who's supportive of you and has been there for you. I've lost about 9 people in my life, and you think it gets easier as time goes on. If I know, in a way you become like desensitized to it, but you don't. When you lose or sever a connection with someone and you're having to grieve, it really is the most painful thing. So yeah, honestly, my condolences to you. I don't know if you're still watching the stream or not, but certainly my condolences to you if you really are struggling. I got a post here that's let's see, just someone, an idiot, putting the most stupid thing. People must be so bored with some of the stuff that they're putting on here. It's like just really derogatory, like vile stuff. Like what goes on in your head to put some of these things? You kind of like the guy from the show Cowboy Traders. I'll have a look actually and see what that looks like. But I mean, it's a goatee with a moustache. There's probably like millions upon millions of people out there, so I don't see well, maybe, who knows, maybe there's a guy who also looks like on there. I mean, I've been told I look like James McAvoy and Zach Braff from Scrubs, which I'm looking forward to watching, actually, the new show. That should be really good. I'm a big fan of Scrubs. Oh yeah, Luke, you put, I didn't know you do dating app photo shoots. I wouldn't say that I do photo shoots. I would just say, like, I over the years, it's quite easy for me to take photos of other people. Ironically, though, I never have someone who can take photos of me. But if once after we've had our chat, if you do find that when we're working together, when we're out and about, if you're like, oh, Daniel, can you take some photos? I am more than happy to take photos for you, because essentially when we're out, we just need photos of you looking cool and trendy in like landmarks around London, or just, just fancy locations. And I've been very fortunate that over the years, I've kind of learned a few things from a guy called Ollie Pearce. So I knew Ollie from back in 2009, when he also worked at a big dating company in London. And Ollie is, if for those that don't know, Ollie is a fashion model. He's still a very big name. He's worked with so many brands. And he is an actual. He also does photography and offers a service where he'll take photos for guys for their dating app. So Ollie is way better than me on stuff. He's got the eye for things. But I would say like when I'm out and about, it's quite easy just to get my phone out, take photos, and be like, okay, I know what I'm looking for, and I can say that certainly from experience, because of all the filming that I've done with dating coaches over the last sort of like 13, 15 years. I've always had the eye for making sure like there's new angles and things that are interesting in their advice videos, in their in-field videos. So yeah, I kind of know what I'm looking for with that. So that's not a problem. How do I go live? Oh yeah, I said just you can figure that out. I can't remember what else. Oh yeah, I'm going to see if I can block that. Oh yeah, I've already hid that person, so that's fine. Abdul, I'm from London. Turbo bollocks, grow some balls. Yeah, okay. I will grow a pair after I've spent time with your mum. So that's that person gone. I don't know what that's meant to be for. What have I got? Just some idiot spamming. Okay, they're just still spamming. So okay, that's another one gone. These kids are like, what the hell? Like, go do some school stuff. Me being a support worker, I'm wondering what credentials you have with this. So not many, to be honest, at the moment. I'm actually looking to try and do a few. So I'm currently looking at. I suppose first of all, doing a first aid thing, which would be wonderful to be able to say that I can offer support for people if they are having certain things like panic attacks and stuff. I am also looking at doing a training in offering support for people who are suffering from depression and if they are self-harming. Although unfortunately, I'm not qualified because I've not gone down like the psychology or psychiatry route. To actually offer any particular support or guidance with that. So I'm very adamant that if I am chatting to someone and I don't feel that, just going up to a stranger and giving them a compliment or asking for directions is something that can help them, then I will send them to someone who is a lot more medically and professionally prepared for that. I mean, socializing is socializing. There's not really much of a qualification you can do with that. I have though trained in something called integral eye movement therapy, so I'm a certified practitioner in that, which is kind of like an alternative therapy for separating people's negative memories from their experiences and their emotions, which has worked absolutely wonders with that. That has been really great. So that's that. So thanks for this, mate. Will you be keeping this live up? Yep, absolutely. Mr. Tommy Gunn. I mean, the idea with this is that I love being as transparent as I can with coaching, and at the moment still I would love to try and get my own street demonstration content. It's just very difficult that essentially the irony is that I'm the cameraman for pretty much every dating coach that has ever existed that has passed through London, that I don't have someone when I need filming for myself. And a lot of the coaches, they live abroad and then they come back to London, we do filming, they come to me, they trust me to film all their stuff, but I struggle to get people for me. And I don't really want to do the sleazy thing of like having my phone in my pocket or get like meta glasses and stuff. I don't count myself as a dating coach. I count myself more as a life coach, particularly with social anxiety, helping people with that. So I want to try and do things properly as I can. But even on the transparency side of things, as I'm just taking people out to get them to practice talking to strangers, I'm very respectful that everyone is in very different places. And I've had guys who from all ages as well. I mean, some of my favorites have been like, I worked with a guy who was 62, and we went out together, and then he was getting numbers from women who were in their early 20s, which was amazing. And then I've had guys from different backgrounds. I've had guys who've been divorced. I've had guys who have certainly come from like out of relationships or abusive relationships. I've had people who just have like no confidence or self-belief in themselves, or I've had guys who just haven't dated or anything like that, and they're just looking to put themselves out there. So, I like to try and document at least anything that I can, and this at the very least is just something for me to be able to share. Although, I'd much prefer to have visual content, of me working with people, but it's easier said than done when I'm the one who does it for other people and I've got no one for myself. But yeah, this will stay up, and and I just again love that I've been able to document working with my client over this last week, because he is just a complete beginner. He'd never cold approached before, and he's at least done between about 50-60 approaches. And we're slowly getting there. It's the sort of thing where really I probably need to like work with him a bit longer after the 7 days. So we'll see. I never really want to like push someone with that. It's entirely their prerogative. But yeah, I think with more practice, more patience for both, I suppose for him and for me, we'll get there. We'll get to a really good place. So let's just see what else. Yeah, just people just sort of like putting really odd random stuff. Minky, just wait until you get into your 50s. It's usually 10 people every 2 years. Not quite sure what that means. Bloody hell, this guy really spammed. I'm glad I've blocked that. Blimey, bloody hell. We've got another one. Blimey, put loads he did. Absolutely loads. I'm a self-centered prick. Okay. I'm a bit. I don't know if that comment is aimed at me or if that was someone else. If someone was putting something really twatty, I don't know. I really don't know. But I would say, I mean, if that's how you feel about me, I mean, then you don't know me, I guess. Oh, okay. Yeah, no, definitely not. Yeah. Okay, because I'm looking at. I mean, there's just on people in the comments. I mean, you should see the things that I've essentially. That fortunately, like YouTube just has an automatic like block and review thing going on. It's amazing just some of the very strange things that are out there. But yeah, I mean, I'd love to be able to support people more, and I genuinely believe like having proper qualifications and stuff is more important. Like it winds me up when I've had, or when I know of coaches over the years, and I'll keep them anonymous, but I've known coaches over the years who have taken on guys who have got like special need disabilities, and really they need genuine support and guidance, and the coach hasn't really given it. And the guy has essentially just spent a lot of money, yeah, and it's heartbreaking that then the guy has probably spent. I've known a couple of people who spent their life savings and then got nothing out of coaching when they've worked with someone, and I find that kind of upsetting when they've not been given the help that they need. So for me, if any qualifications that I can get on stuff, I would absolutely. I genuinely would absolutely love. Yeah, your comments is it? Yeah, it really has, hasn't it, Luke? It's just been so strange. I know we'll probably have a laugh about it on the phone later, but yeah, it's really strange. But then that's the thing with like live streaming. It's like anyone just can jump in and just like say whatever because there's just the anonymity there. I bet if like people's like passports were attached to their profiles, I bet they'd be having a very different way of presenting themselves online. But no, I don't. I don't mind like these trolls. They're idiots. It's just when I start seeing things where you can tell that person is being like just well and truly malicious. They've either they've got something dark going on in their lives, or they've been brought up to be dark. And I have met people over the years who they're the sort of person who would be quite happy to just watch the world burn, and they would be the ones to light it. There are just people out there, you know. It is what it is. You can't really do anything about it. But if I can be just preventing these idiots from coming back, or they can just go waste their time elsewhere, then yeah, I'm all for it. It makes no difference to me. It's just literally someone passing a comment in passing, passing a comment. Yeah, putting a comment in passing. There you go. But yeah, all right. Well, I'm glad at least I've kind of caught up with stuff. Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, I don't think I've missed anything there. Yeah, just people just literally just it were just trying to like spam the chat, which is, again, bored people, bored people. Right, okay, so I've done over an hour now. I will leave it there. I'm probably going to have a drink. Luke, if you're watching this, I look forward to being able to have a call with you later. I'll also I'll re-have a look at the message that you put, or the comment that you put on one of the videos, because I did read it and I thought it was really interesting. So yeah, I do. I look forward to chatting to you later, Luke. And we'll end up going over stuff. But yeah, to anyone else before I round off, yeah, I've got one last session with my client. We'll see what happens. I really appreciate that Minky. Yeah, so do I. Honestly, I'm looking forward to trying to help more people if I can. You can take medication for anxiety. Yeah, no, I agree. That sort of thing though would be for a psychologist or a psychiatrist or a doctor to be recommending. That is not something that I would be recommending. And in fact, even when I have a consultation with someone, I am very adamant to find out from them if they are taking medication, because I've usually got, well, I say usually, I have got a form that I get people to fill in to actually find out where they're at. And medication works for some people, doesn't work for others. But yeah, that's something between someone and their doctor. That's not for me. That isn't something that I would even. I mean, I'm not trained in that for medication. I can recommend like multivitamin stuff that I like taking, that I find helps me, not really with my anxiety, but definitely helps me with just sort of like feeling good, feeling optimistic, and just having genuinely good energy that can carry me throughout each day. But med stuff for anxiety, no, that's not something that I would touch. That's not anything for me. I just got fat, so I started keto. I've done keto stuff, absolutely brilliant. I 100% recommend it. Doing the low carb, high fat diet is really good. Intermittent fasting, I find for me, like this might be something for you to like try and discover on your own, or even speaking to a nutritionist. But I find for me, I can't do intermittent fasting. I need to eat every like 2-3 hours, otherwise I burn out of energy really quickly. Also, with the amount of walking that I do each day, when I'm working with a client, I'm walking between about 8 to 12 miles a day. And if I'm doing a 7-day coaching with them, I'm easily doing about 80 miles a week. So I am burning a lot of calories all the time. So I need to eat a lot. Otherwise, I feel tired. I feel fatigued as we're walking around, let alone my client. If they're not eating anything, then yeah, we just genuinely struggle. So yeah, it's difficult. So for me, yeah, I need to eat every couple of hours. They usually, I try and eat clean as well if I can. But I think, yeah, good, honestly, good for you. I admire and respect people if they're trying to do something with their life, because at one point I was overweight, and I've also been underweight. I'm what, 5'7", 5'8", maybe 5'9" on a good day, if I'm lucky. But I mean, once upon a time, I remember I was about seven stone, and I'm currently 11 stone now. And it's a lot more muscle and stuff. And I think the heaviest that I've been was probably about 12, 13, and that gave me more like a gut. So yeah, honestly, yeah, good for you. Really, really good for you with that. So yeah, I mean, honestly, and I appreciate the like and subscribe. So I'd love to hear how you get on as time goes on. And if you end up sending photos, by all means, like, please do. Like, I'm fascinated with that. I'm a huge advocate for self-development. It changed me for the better over the last 20 years. So if other people can carry on inspiring me and stuff, I will never say no to it. And I love hearing people's stories and journeys. So yeah, do keep me up to date on that. And I keep saying the word "so." I need to try that. Stop saying that. I really do. But that's when I know I'm getting tired, if I start going around in circles. We'll leave it there. I nearly said so again, but no, we'll leave it there. I appreciate everyone who's watched the stream and chatted to me. If you haven't done so already, please do subscribe to the channel. I genuinely hope that in some way I can carry on inspiring you, even if it just motivates you to get out the house and say hello to someone, or make a new friend, or go and do some new hobby that you find interesting or that you've wanted to do. I'd love to be able to hear your stories anyway. If you are interested in coaching or having help with your social anxiety, it's not just for dating, it is for socializing, for networking, for just genuinely building your confidence up and being the sort of better, most self-actualized version of yourself. Then I would love to hear from you and work with you. I've got a link in the comments as well, that links to my Calendly. So if you do resonate with anything on my channel, with me, whatever, then yeah, I'd love to hear from you and have a chat, and hopefully maybe we can work together. Nothing is impossible. The word itself says I'm possible. I like that. That's really good. And one of my favorite ones is I think from Wayne Gretzky. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Like, if you don't have conversations with people and try and attempt to meet people, there's a squirrel on the fence. Try and meet people, then you never will. If you want the things that you want in life, you've got to at least try it and go for it. It doesn't matter if you fail. You'll feel so much better about yourself just at least saying, well, you know what, I gave it a go, it just wasn't for me, or I gave it a try, it didn't work. And especially if you at least try several times and discover, okay, that's not for me, or nah, I can't do it. Then I'll always admire people who at least try with that. But yeah, if you don't do anything, then it's your own worst enemy is what I would say. So yeah, right. I don't want to waffle anymore. We'll end it there. Everyone, thank you so much for watching, and I'll do another stream hopefully over the next couple of days once I've had my final session with my client, and then I can update you how the session went, what I debriefed him on, and how the transformation, I suppose, was on his dating profile too. So thanks for watching. I'm going to go and have a drink now, an orange juice, not an alcoholic, just an orange juice or something, just to help me out. And Luke, I will chat to you soon as well.